right? Most people when they do please just click on got it, right? Click on got it to the, all right, thank you. Okay.
We can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now, please?
Yes, please.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much for the confirmation. All right. I think this works now. This works. All right. So I was saying that a lot of us, we have children and we don't have the right information to train the children. And I want to congratulate every single parent for being here today. I want to thank you for taking that initiative to know the importance, the value of this class, and then for registering, signifying your interest, and then going ahead to register for the class. Why should we learn how children's minds work? I think I've touched a bit on that. That's one of the main things that we interact with as we talk to them. So we should know that. But you would get to explain better before the end of the class yourself. When we have time, by God's grace, I would ask that question again, and hopefully you would have the right answer for me. Okay, so I'm going to share my slides again, and this time you would see both my face and the slides as I have successfully transferred to my laptop. Okay. 1 minute, please. Sorry for these beginning distractions. We'll go on. Right from this point. Okay, please, I would like the session to be really interactive. If you can, please show your face. So it's not like I'm just the only one showing my face here. If you can, show your face, all right? Just let me have some encouragement from you, all right? Then as much as you can, please give me feedback in the chat so we know that we're together, all right? So we have done this, and I said that neurological research, everything that has been done so far should be available to parents, be available to teachers, because it's going to help education. Now, education is supposed to be a ground to explore, to discover, to solve problems, to think creatively, and to think critically. These are actually the goals of education. But is this what education is actually doing? And I'm not just talking about Nigeria. Is this what education is doing to us? Is it helping us to have the capacity to explore, to discover, to solve problems? Because we still have a lot of problems unsolved. We still have many university students, many adults that cannot think critically, that are not creative enough when they see problems. So how do we make education as productive as it's supposed to be? This class will be able to help, because a lot of young people have diverted their minds from the main of education. What do we need, please, to cook egusi soup? What do we need to cook egusi? What are the condiments? What do we need?
We need the egusi itself. We need fish, meat, every other. Then you need your seasoning. You need your leaf.
You need palm oil.
That you want.
Awesome.
For the Yoruba, they might take
great.
That's beans. What's that thing? That beans thing.
Locust beans. Locust beans.
Locust beans, yes.
Awesome.
Some people can put locust beans inside.
Ugu.
Ugu, yes. We have all sorts of amazing cooks here. Well done. All right. So to learn, what do we need? What do children need to learn? Just as you
good environment.
Good environment.
They encourage learning.
Okay.
Then Then they need the book that they want to learn from.
The
The
book.
tools. Okay.
Yeah, maybe the mind must be willing to know. Okay, they believe that when you learn, you will understand. Oh, sorry, oh babies.
Okay, it's fine.
The mind that when you oh sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
I think it needs to be fun for them to learn.
What did you say? All right. So we have some contributions already, right? We have contributions like we need the materials, the book, we need a good environment. The main thing, those are important, but the main thing they need to learn is their minds, their brains. Because without the brain, you cannot learn any. That book they're bringing will be wasted. There's no need for the book if their mind cannot stay, cannot focus to learn, right? We are together on that. Now, there's this stuff. There's this stuff I have here, and when I went for the physical session of this training, I gave this bowl to teachers. What we have here is just bricks, okay? Little bricks like this. I gave these bricks to teachers. I put it here in a bowl, and see this? There's actually a small piece of paper underneath. And if you are to get the piece of paper from the bottom of this bowl without pouring the bricks out, you actually cannot. Just like when I had the on-site session with different teachers from different schools, most of them came to check. They tried to use their skills. Those that have long nails, they tried to do all sorts. They couldn't get a piece of paper until we had to remove all this to bring the piece of paper out. Now, this is like your mind, the container. It's like the child's mind. And the piece of all these bricks here are the data, the information inside the mind. Now, sometimes you're looking for something, maybe 6 times 7. That white paper is a 6 times 7, and you want to bring it out. But because the information is all scattered, all muddled up, they cannot quickly fetch 6 times 7. And then they will tell you, I forgot, right? They'll tell you, I forgot. But there is actually something we can do to prevent such things. So you might even be asking, what's the definition of biology? And the child is doing like this, as if he has not even heard the word before. And you want to hit his head and say, boy, you learned this thing. And he just cannot remember. It's just like this white sheet of paper in this, right? And when I took this, I took another arranged set and I put the piece of gram that was quickly retrieved. Why? Because it was well arranged. So what am I trying to talk about? I would use another analogy. See the library in front of us. Imagine that you ask your child to go to your library. This is your library, this beautiful place now. This beautiful library you can see is yours, right? Maybe you have a particular room just for books. And these are all your books. And you have asked your child, go and give me the book by Chimamanda Adichie titled Half of a Yellow Sun. Your child has gone in and 30 minutes, he's still there. 45 minutes, 1 hour, you have even forgotten that you sent him. You got back, you went to the library yourself, only for you to see that all the books have been muddled together on the floor and your child has been sweating, trying to look for Half of a Yellow Sun. Tell me, can you type the word, type the feeling in the chat. Type it. How do you feel? How do you think your child will be feeling at that moment? Please type it in the chat. What do you think your child will be feeling? How will they be feeling at that point? They have been sweating, looking for half of the yellow sun when all the books are on the floor. All these books here, you can see, are on the floor, everything together. You sent your child to get the book, and it's not like he was playing. He has been looking for it. Somebody said tired. Thank you. Stress. Very good. Frustration. Exactly. Confusion. Perfect words. Perfect words. What did you say, ma'am? Yes, you'll be frustrated. Thank you. Exactly my point. And that is how some students are. They get confused, they get frustrated when it's time for tests. It's not like they didn't read this thing. But what's the problem? What's the problem? I will talk about this again, or you will be able to make sense of it at the end of this session, before the end of the session. Yes. So let's go. How does the brain cope with the information dump? All these books here are the different pieces of information coming into your child's mind, into your mind. I'll just be using your mind, knowing that sometimes I'll specify your child, and most times I might say your mind, but you know that as we're talking about the mind, the aim is what you're learning, you're passing it on, applying it to your child, because it works for us as well, right? Yes. These bricks are pieces of information. All these books here are pieces of information. How would your brain cope with the information dump? How would it cope? How does a librarian cope? There are library cards. So when you get to the library, and hopefully the library is not in a mess, libraries all arranged like this, you go to the librarian and he gives you a library card. The card would have the title of the book, the shelf number. When you count, you would see how it has been arranged. You check the catalog, get the number, maybe JA or something, and you find it. You just trace it, you find it, and under a few minutes, you're out, hopefully. So how does our brain cope with information? Now, the way we look at information like this, the way we look at the white wall, we look at the green slides, that's not how our brain is processing it. As it's looking at this at once, agree with me that just on the screen now, you can see a lot. You can see white, you can see blue, you can see orange, you can see a woman frustrated, you can see different marks, you can see the Zoom gallery, different things hit your brain in seconds. Now, it is said that the brain receives millions of data in a second. You know what millions are? Millions, not tens, not hundreds, not thousands, millions. So how does it cope? It uses filters. We'll talk about these filters and how we can successfully pass through the filters. Let me ask this question. I don't know if maybe the young people here might not remember this, but do you remember those days? Because for me, it's a real life story. When the TV is not functioning well and somebody's outside trying to turn the pole, right?
Yes.
Yes, you're trying to turn the pole. Then another person is in between. Somebody is by the window or by the door. Somebody is at the pole trying to turn it on. Somebody is looking at the TV.
At the TV.
Yes.
Is it showing now? It's shaking.
Yes.
It's still shaking. It's shaking. And this one will tell this one, and this one will tell the other person. So what if the TV was actually stable and the guy at the door still told the person by the pole that the TV is
Hmm.
what will happen? The guy will still be there
It keeps
Yes, he'll still keep turning. He'll still keep turning because there's been a wrong relay of information. It's, you know, this race that somebody will pass a baton to the next relay, right? Yes, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
If you don't pass it on to the next person, you don't pass the baton on to the next person very well, it affects the next person. It also affects the next person. So, what the brain uses, see this picture. In biology, if you can remember the topic, cells, or if you remember reproduction, this picture is like a sperm, but it's actually the picture of a cell. You know, the body is made up of cells. The cell is the smallest unit of life in the body. So this is like a cell, and is a neuron. They call it neuron, neuron. That guy standing by the door, that is standing in between, passing information, let's call him a neuron, right? Let's call the messenger a neuron. In between seeing the information and understanding the information and responding to the information, we have different neurons, many neurons. One neuron is passing information to the other. One neuron is passing information to the other. So if I pass information to you that is not really what it is, the other guy will not be able to explain, will not be able to interpret it. It's depending on you that pass information. So the neurons work together, right? The neurons work together, they connect. See these little branches. Can you see the little branches at the sides? One is going this way, one is going that way, right? They are the branches of the neuron, and they stretch to touch each other. When there are many, I'll show you a picture on the next slide, where there are many trying to touch each other. Okay, I think this displays it better. All right, fine. These are the neurons trying to touch each other. See the branches? Now, this is so important. This is so important. I want you to get this, please. It's very simple. Please, if you have any questions, remember our agreement. Please ask, right? Now, during learning, what takes place during learning? During learning, the neurons are stretching. They're stretching. If some branches touch some other branches of other neurons, there's a connection. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a connection. All right, there is a connection. When some are stretching to connect, remember that as they are stretching, some can stretch away from others. So there might be disconnection amongst some neurons. For others, there can be strengthening. Some will be strengthened while some will be weakened. Some new ones will be created while some others will be cut off. Is this clear so far?
Yes.
Yes, this is what we call neuroplasticity. I wrote it here, so you see that's the definition. When neurons stretch to form connections in the brain, that is what we call neuroplasticity. And this is the definition of learning. I'm breaking down the scientific terms. I don't want to use scientific jargon, right? I'm talking to us as mothers so that whatever big names they have used, we can demystify it and really use it, okay? So I've taken all these veils off, right, to make it plain for us. Neurons are they're stretching and they are touching each other. When some are strengthened, when some are created, beautiful, fantastic understanding during learning. But when some are cut off, then some people will say, I forgot, or I don't know that. Or they're seeing your face, they have seen you before, but they cannot remember your name. The connections not strong, or the connections got the neurons got disconnected. Okay, so I want to believe that you understand neuroplasticity. I'll ask questions at the end, though.
Mm.
All right. So we move on to the different parts of the brain. And to discuss the different parts of the brain, I want to say that I'm not going to be mentioning every part of the brain. Okay. I'm talking about all the parts of the brain so that some people run off on me like, what is this? This is boring. I'm not
This is science class.
yes. So I'm tackling just the parts that are for us, that are connected to learning, how the mind works during learning. That's what we're going to be focusing on. And sometimes I might talk about one part and still mention that I'm talking about another part, but just know that there are systems. When we say something is a system, it means that it's a network of things. So it might not be just one thing, it might be two things having that function. Maybe one thing having one function and carrying a bit of that function. All right. So just know that there are individual parts of the brain, but the brain actually works in systems, like a network. It's like a network. All right. So the first guy that we meet is called RAS. RAS. I'll explain what this means. Let me show you the full name first before I talk about it. Let me show you the full name. Okay, it's on this picture. The reticular activating system. Reticular activating system. Now let me go back and just call it, let's know it as RAS. Now this guy, the RAS, is our executive assistant. Imagine that you have an assistant, right? You are the boss and you have an assistant. And anytime anybody shows up in front of the office, your assistant tells them to come in. How would you feel? You wouldn't feel good. Yes. So you can even ask your assistant, why am I paying you? Right? Why am I paying you? Or there's a guard at the security post, and he just lets everybody in. He doesn't check, doesn't do any no protocol whatsoever. They just go in. Why are you there in the first place? So this RAS guy is the gatekeeper, right? He's a gatekeeper. Remember we mentioned earlier that the brain receives millions of data in seconds. But the RAS guy is not a bad gatekeeper. He's very good. In short, he's over good. So he doesn't permit all of them. About 2,000 bytes per second. He will not, he cannot, and he does not permit everything to go in. It does you good. It picks the one that it feels is important to, just like your assistant would. If you had told your assistant that, oh, you were expecting so and so, right? Then they might allow that person in. And if they don't know the person, or they have seen the way you treated the person before, and perhaps that moment you're busy and she's not able to attend to you, she's not able to get across to you, she can actually tell that person to come in and give that person a seat, treat him well, and tell him that, please, your mother, that you are in a meeting and all that. Her treatment of that person will be different because she has seen how you relate to that person. So this RAS guy does the same. He filters the information that comes in on his own judgment, saying this guy is important, this guy is not important. But what if it is actually important and he has shut that information out? How do we go about that? How do we go about that? I said he's a gatekeeper, he's a bouncer. You know, when some people go for parties, there are these big guys that bounce people. So that's the RAS. Another word, guard. So I've used all these to connect RAS. I don't think you will forget when I ask you what RAS does, because I've used the gatekeeper, I've used the bouncer and the guard words to analogies to tell you the functions of the reticular activating system. It's a system. It's not just one thing. It's a system. It's a network of nerves, of neurons. And I'm referring to the system as it, right? What it does is to filter unimportant information, and it will help you to pay attention to what you need. So as a parent, you should be really, really interested in this guy, this gatekeeper guy. Because when your child is learning, you want to help your child to harness the first filter very well, because it's going to meet other filters as well. If he's able to pass through this first filter, then you will know that you can also help the main information to pass through the next filter. Are we together? Am I too fast? Is it confusing? Are we good to go? Let me get your responses, please.
It's okay. Well, I understand. Let me speak for myself.
All right. Thank you. Other parents, please type in the chat. Type in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Give me feedback. Do you understand all I've said so far?
Initially, it was flying over my head, but now it's making sense.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for the feedback. All right. So we have dealt with the first guy, the RAS guy, but we'll still get more information about it so that we can know how to befriend him. Sometimes imagine that you are so tired, and I don't know if you have ever been in that situation. You were really tired. You couldn't even eat. But you heard that your mother was calling you, or one friend like that maybe had an accident and you had been trying to reach. You will just get up and say, please, I want to pick that phone. Are you not tired again? I thought you wanted to sleep. Some things happen like that. It is the RAS we need to thank, because the RAS was able to filter that important connection, and you were able to recognize that thing as important. All right. So the RAS is responsible for attention, alertness. If your child is feeling sleepy, feeling sluggish, he's not paying attention, the RAS has told him or her that, see, that information is not so important. Sleep up on it. Even if it is time to sleep. But I tell you that there are some other things that they will not remember that they were feeling sleepy. They won't remember that tiredness that they were supposed to have if they were given other things. But these other things coming, no, it's time to sleep. So one thing you should remember about RAS is change. Change. Can you type change in the chat box? Just say RAS equals change. RAS equals change. RAS responds to change. RAS responds to change. I want to see that in the chat box, please. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Olusoya. You're doing a great job. Thank you. RAS responds to change. Thank you. RAS responds to change. So just imagine that there was a switch board, like a light bulb socket. You just came to switch it on. Pop! Change. If there is change, the RAS is alerted. If there is change, the RAS tells the RAS brings up attention, like, pay attention, please. Pay attention. You are in the room, you're in the sitting room, and there is noise all around. But amidst the noise, there is a knock on the door. How did you pick up that? There was a change in the sound atmosphere. While the noise was still on, the change came in. Change in sound. Something was added to the frequency that was already available. That's why you were able to pick that as change. So let's leave this first guy and move. All right. Let's leave it and move. We'll come back to it. We've talked about change. right? So the next thing after change, the next stop is the limbic system. Now, the first system we looked at is the reticular activating system. Now we're in the limbic system. Okay, I'll do this. Let's go back. Let's just treat what we need. I'm looking at the time so that I don't get to miss out on some important things. Let's finish up with the RAS. Have you ever seen a public speaker that you really, really loved? Why do you think you loved the person? Sometimes it's not necessarily about what the person was saying. It's about how the person was saying it. So I could raise my tone or lower it to a whisper just to bring that change effect. So if I raise my voice, then you know that what I want to say needs your attention and it's important and I need you to listen up. I shine my eyes. I'm bringing a change to the way my eyes were. It means that you should pay attention. I'm trying to emphasize what I'm saying. I'm using hand gesture to say that what I'm bringing to you is important, that you should pay attention. I asked a question. Maybe I just jolted something. I just brought up a question out of the blue. Is to bring a change to the flow. The flow was linear before. I was just talking, bringing sentence upon sentence, and I brought up a question to bring up the change. So that's one thing that good public speakers would do. That's one thing that good pastors, good teachers, good people that speak in front of others, this is one thing they will do to introduce change in every sentence. So they don't do away with the hand gesture. They don't do away with raising their voice or lowering their voice or shining their eyes or moving from one part of the pulpit to another or the platform wherever or in front of the class to another, because they understand change. Let me make it clear that some of these things we'll be discussing today, there are things that you are already doing, but you really do not know. You don't understand the process and you don't know why you're doing it. And I believe that, like Simon Sinek says, starts with why, right? I believe that our why, knowing why, would actually be a game changer for us. So how do we activate the RAS? How do we bring up that change? Tone, gestures, questions, physical environment. If I come to the class today, or okay, I have parents basically here, so I know that my son is going to bring an assignment home today, and I just want something different. I say, okay, let's change the environment. Can we do this lesson somewhere else, or can we? This actually works better in a classroom. Say the teacher is creative enough to say, okay, today I want us to change the sitting arrangement because the topic I actually want to teach is not like the others I've been bringing up, right? Let's do this. Or sometimes you are talking with your child at home and there's this thing you really want to talk about. You wait for a particular time when you can sit, face to face, or maybe you are in the car, or it's not just the normal environment, right? And you bring it up. That environment you are bringing up that discussion is actually telling the child that, hey, this thing is important. So we need to pay attention to the environment. We need to pay attention to the tone of our voice, to our gestures, to our facial expressions. Okay, now I heard this. I don't know how I read it from more than one source. But before I talk about something like this, I actually like to verify scientifically, but I didn't. I didn't verify this one scientifically, that aromas like peppermint jolts the brain. So for a child that you want to jolt the RAS up, you can give the child peppermint. It has a pathway to not just smell, but to taste. All right. So this is something, if you have it at home, it's something you can consider to jack up your child to respond. So what's the ticket? If you want to pass through RAS, like RAS wants to give the information a ticket, what would you use to jolt change? Color for children. Color comes in to entice them. Because it's really colorful. That's one of the reasons. And perhaps you planned something to be a surprise. It can catch their attention because the change has been switched on, right? Novelty. When I say novelty, I mean something new, something fresh. It's not the normal way it has been. All right? Then something curious, a curious event. Why are we going there? Or what's happening today? Or something. It's just telling you to pay attention to that particular thing. Change. Now let's move on to the next stop. We've been talking about the RAS since, the reticular activating system, the first filter that information would come to. The next system is the limbic system. The limbic system. And in this system, we're looking at two different parts of the brain called amygdala, and hippocampus. You are going to know the names as we go on. So don't let the names be a distraction whatsoever. Don't let the names scare you. I wanted to put a picture of hippopotamus to represent hippocampus, but hippopotamus picture I saw wasn't looking fine at all. So I didn't want to scare you. I just left that like that, right? So the amygdala and the hippocampus. This amygdala guy is one guy you want to really, really consider. Like, okay, what's up with you and how can I be your friend? The amygdala, that word, amygdala, is a Latin word for almond. So I put the picture of an almond here so that you see the shape of the almond, right? You see the shape of the almond? Then look at this brain, the picture of the brain here. See the small parts. Just trace where you have the amygdala, the arrow. You will see the almond shape. That is how the amygdala looks like in the brain. That is the shape of the amygdala. It's an almond, small almond-shaped part of the brain that is called the emotion center. Emotions. It has a lot to do with the emotion. You can see that we have, from this picture, you see we have this is just the limbic system, and these are the different parts of the limbic system, but we are considering the amygdala and the hippocampus. The thalamus is still important, but let's look at amygdala and the hippocampus. Amygdala is a small but mighty woman. Let me say woman now because I've been using guys. All right. So the amygdala is small but mighty, connected to emotions. Is the emotion center. She is the emotion center, right? Now, the change has come. You have my attention now. Does it mean that every information that has come through change will stay? No, it won't. Every information coming in will not stay. What would make me respond? The state, my learning state, how I am, would actually would be a check if that information will stay or not. Now, if a child is sad, imagine you just beat the child. Your child is sleeping and is crying, weeping. They say, go and carry your book and read. Which book? Nada. There's no understanding that will happen in that state. If they take the book, then they might slip up, or they will just be looking at the book and they are not connected. The amygdala is in a sad state and it will just block it. It will block any information coming in. It responds to emotion. So it's when it comes in, it tries to check, is this positive? Is it negative? Is this positive? Is this negative? If it is positive, it will move it to one part of the shelf. If it is negative, it will react in another way. You know what it does? If it is negative, it will padlock the place that is called the prefrontal cortex. I'll show you that. PFC. It will padlock the PFC. And if the PFC is here, is around the forehead, This is where the higher thinking occurs. The higher thinking takes place in the PFC. So let me take this again. The amygdala is the emotion center. After the first guy, the Raz, has done the change and he has gotten your attention and that information has come in, the amygdala wants to check, hey, is it positive or negative? Is this information positive or negative? They would check, the amygdala would check how? If there is meaning, association with something that is coming in, it knows. Now, I asked in one video I played, I shared a video before, right? And I said, in the morning, you are just up, there's a knock on your door and this guy is by your door. Hey, you would not wait. You would close the door or run or shout, Jesus! Or do something weird. Because your mind knows that the information that is coming in is, hey, this is negative. This guy is not somebody you should sit down with. This is not your friendly visitor at all. So why? What if you see, or okay, let's imagine that you have two people, two friends, or two people coming in, and you do not really know this person. I think that's why we are really careful about strangers. We don't know them. There's this blockage because there's no emotional connection with them, right? So I hope that has explained it a bit. I would get back to that in a bit. But just know that this is what the amygdala does. It uses the 5 senses. It uses the 5 senses. Remember the 5 senses? Sight, taste, smell, hearing, and touch.
Touch, yeah.
Thanks. Yes, those are the 5 senses. So if the information comes in and it is negative, perhaps you gave me a drink that I didn't know before, and you told me that it's really nice. I should taste it. I tasted it, and it is tasting like one drink that I took that gave me stomach pain the other time. You think I'll continue with that? No matter what you are saying, it's really nice. I put honey. I'll say thank you. Thank you. Why? Because my amygdala has picked it as negative. So there are 2 different things that happen, right? There are 2 different things that happen. There are different kinds of information coming in. Now, I would like you to just look at what I have here. I have some cards here. I'll place it so that you can see. Sorry, if this was a physical session, I will just put them on the table and then you can sort them out. But here we have friends of the brain, okay? Friends of the brain. Can you see this clearly, please?
Yes, please.
Okay. Then these are, what's this? What's here?
Bullies of the brain.
Awesome. So these are friends of the brain, and these are bullies of the brain. It is the job of the amygdala to tell you which one is your friend, which one is your bully, based on previous information. All right. So if there's no previous information, that's different, but they always look for connections. They look for connections. But if there is no former connection, then a new neuron is formed. And it depends on that particular information coming in that will form a new definition that other things can be based on later on. So these are friends of the brain. These are bullies of the brain. Where do you think this guy falls under? This is
Confusion.
friend or bully?
Bully.
Awesome. Bully. So it goes here. What of this?
Boredom.
Can't
Bully.
see.
I
Bully.
think it's bully.
Yes.
Okay, can't
Bully.
see.
Okay. This
Difficulty.
Bully.
Bully.
bully. You're right. How about hold on, where are these other guys?
Can't
They're running away. Okay. How about this?
Yeah,
bully.
bully.
Bully again. Uh-oh. What of this?
Frustration.
Bully.
Bully.
Okay, that's another bully. All right. So, what will pass through? How about this?
Satisfaction. Friend.
Can't see. Why am I not seeing?
Sorry, this is it. Satisfaction.
Okay, friend.
Yes, satisfaction. Or perhaps I should stop sharing so that I'll come back to share so that you can see better. Does this
Okay.
help?
Yes.
Yes.
Friend.
Satisfaction is a friend. Okay. And how about where's this guy? I had interest here. Where should I put interest?
Friend.
Interest. Friend.
Interest is a friend. What about passion?
Friend.
Friend.
Okay. So passion is a friend. Interest is a friend. Anything that comes in that category, the amygdala knows how to segregate and arrange them to say, this is what this thing is. So you either run or you stay with it. Those are quick informations, very quick. Those decisions are made in a very quick process, quick way. Now, let me move on to, that's what I just said here. All that I demonstrated here is what you have here. So you have ease, you have positive memory as friends, you have frustration and confusion and all of that as bullies. Okay, I'm glad that we have made some progress. We are now at the hippocampus. This is the second part of the limbic system, right? The first one was the amygdala, emotion center. It's associated with either fear or it helps you to say, okay, this information is good. It puts it on the positive shelf or on the negative shelf. It tells you this is a friend or this is a bully. Now, the hippocampus helps us, the very big part of the brain, of the cerebrum, that tells us, it helps us remember things. It decides to store information that we need and it fetches it. But you know, some things will not get to the hippocampus if the first guy does not think that it is important. So if it's able to get to the hippocampus can store it, and when you need it, just like the bricks, if you store it well, then you'll be able to fetch it. Okay? Are we good so far? So,
Yeah.
any question, please? Any question, please ask. Please ask. All right. So, the dopamine. Everybody say dopamine.
Dopamine.
Everybody say dopamine.
Dopamine.
Okay. Yeah. The dopamine is a brain chemical. We have different brain chemicals. I think 4 major brain chemicals, but this is the one we are considering because it is related to pleasure. Somebody say pleasure.
Pleasure.
Yeah. It is related to pleasure. If your child finds what they are learning pleasurable, then the brain will remember it. Your child will remember it if it comes in as pleasurable. If the dopamine is released, it's a chemical that is released when there is pleasure. If there is fear, amygdala shuts it and it doesn't get to the thinking parts of the brain. But if it's pleasurable, pass, there will be a ticket for it to pass. So Dopamine makes you want to do things. Dopamine tells you to pay attention. Dopamine tells you, hey, we need to get it to the part of the brain that it can stay. It will be quick, it will be stored very well. Anytime you need it, we can fetch it because it is related to pleasure. As parents, my job, your job, as teachers, the job we have is to find ways to help our children's brains release dopamine. If you understand this thing, you will see the transformation in your child's life. Dopamine is a brain chemical that is released when there is pleasure. It makes you want to do things. If there is, it makes you want to, it can actually be positive or negative because it is the same dopamine that is released when somebody gets into trouble. You know, there's this feeling that they can't do without this thing. They want to. It is the same dopamine. And that same dopamine can be released when somebody is learning. They want to. The same dopamine. It is related to pleasure. How do we release dopamine? That's what you have on the slide, making choices. Now, if your child if you want to teach your child something and you have the option to ask, you ask your child to make a choice how he wants to learn it. Do you know that it is a pathway for dopamine to be released? When they make a choice affecting their own learning, they pay more attention. That is why when some parents force their children to study some courses, sometimes it backfires. Sometimes the children, after studying that thing, they say, okay, daddy, mommy, this is your certificate. Now I'm going to do my own. I've seen that happen countless times. Why? They didn't go, it wasn't their choice. And the one that they have made a choice in, they are going to do better. They're going to pay more attention. So it is one way to help our children. Dopamine. Humor. You want to teach something, look for a way to make it funny. It's not everything that we can make funny, right? But when it is related to that, when it is something that you can make funny, that you can use humor, then please go ahead to look for a very funny way to teach it. Music. Oh my, oh my. You remember some of those things that you learned when you were a child, then you learn them as songs. And this one you can't forget. Hydrogen, helium, medium, beryllium, with it's not chemistry, but I still remember it. Why? Music. Music. That is why I have also find that for especially the very young children or toddlers, when I'm teaching them Bible verses, I turn them to music. I look for songs that are if there's a particular verse that someone has already formed the song, like I can't do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's easier for them to remember. And when they've learned the song, they can learn the verse. But music has a way to release dopamine in a child, not just child, in a person, in a human being. Okay? Good music. Now, sense of achievement. If your child is able to complete a task, or they create something, they make something, and that's one thing that our education, our system, I don't know when we will have the time to be able to engage our students to make things. They do that in some subjects, but not in all. Now, if I was using my phone, I would have shared the picture of my son. He used these small bricks. Maybe I'll share it on the group tonight. He used these small bricks to make a rocket. I was sleeping when he made it. I left him reading his encyclopedia when I went to sleep. His father was with him, with Caris, but I needed to rest early that day. So the next morning, and when I woke up, of course, he was sleeping. So later when he got up, he told me that, he made a rocket. I said, rocket? He made rocket. He said, yes, that he made a rocket. And I was asking, where, rocket from where? He said, oh, that he read up rockets in his encyclopedia and he made it. I said, oh, really? Let me see it. He brought it and he was explaining, oh, this is the rudder. This is the this. This is the that. This is where the flame comes from. This is where the heat. I'm like, okay. I didn't know Jack about what he was saying. But the sense of achievement that he made this thing with what he learned all by himself, it really helped him to retain the information. When children are if you have toddlers, one thing you can do for them is to give them stuff, give them resources, and let them create things. We are creators. That's how we were made. That's how God made us. He's a creator, and He made us as creators. So when we create something, there's a sense of achievement that we have. Sometimes we set goals, and when we're able to meet those goals, we see that sense of achievement seeping in. It helps us. It helps us because that has released dopamine for more. It helps us to want to do more. It helps us to want to learn in that direction. All right. Now, the next, I'm taking time to explain this, right? There's still some other slides. These things I'm mentioning, there are on other slides. I'll just skip when I get there. Right. So we have physical movement. This is one thing I do basically. Like I've been working on my thesis for a while, and I remember on Thursday I was working in school on campus. I had worked for about maybe 2 hours. Non-stop. I was just on the laptop. I was typing. I was checking my books, and after a point, of course, I was alone in the office. I got up to dance a bit, and then I continued. Why? Physical movements would help release dopamine. Are we together? So can we just try that so that we can jack up a bit? We've been sitting for a while. So everybody, do this. Wriggle, wriggle. Wriggle your hands. If you are doing it, say, yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Okay, more.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so please wriggle your fingers, wriggle your hands, wriggle. All right, so pause on that. See your fingers now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2. Okay, I just made a mistake. Let's do it faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2. We up. Awesome. All right. So, this is something you want to. Scientifically, it is proven that for every 15 minutes that children work, there should be a 5 minutes physical movement or break. So if they are sitting down, they're able to do something for 15 minutes, there should be 5 minutes break. Another 15 minutes or 10 minutes, another short break. Just something to release dopamine so that your child can learn better. Next, inner enjoyment. I think it's also tied to sense of achievement. Inner enjoyment, something that they really love to do. Something tied to choice, and then they really love to do. It will help release dopamine. Like somebody can just say, "Oh, I don't chase my child to write. She just enjoys writing." Yes, and if she has something to do along that line, it will flow because Dopamine is released when there is inner enjoyment. Another one is collaborating, when they're able to collaborate with their peers. Dopamine is released. Now, before we go on, I want to ask a few questions. So that I know that you have followed through till now. I will call name to ask the question. I'm sure that's fine. All right. Mrs. Olusoya, please give me an analogy. Give me a name for a particular activating system. A comparison. Reticular activating system can be considered to be a dash. Please fill in the gap. Mrs. Olusoya, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so please tell me, do you remember what the RAS is to us? Or what does it do? Can you remember anything about the RAS? Tell me.
Okay, how do I explain? I understand, but I don't know how to explain it though. That's my issue. Like it, I don't call it the reflex, but that is how. That's how we. I don't know how to explain it.
Go ahead.
That's the bridge. That's how we interpret instructions and carry out instructions, kind of.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your contribution. Mr. Adeoye, can you add to what she has said about RAS, reticular activating system? Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me something you remember about RAS.
It's like a gatekeeper. I think it's the first part of the brain that receives information. We receive 2,000 bits of data in a minute.
Okay.
Do you hear me, ma'am?
Okay. Yes. That's right. Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Adeoye. Okay. Yes, you're right. Mrs. Nita, please tell me something you remember about the amygdala.
The amygdala is the emotion center.
Yes, you're right. Thank you. Mrs. Obot, Lady Glow, please add to that. What else do you remember about the amygdala?
The amygdala that trigger for emotion.
Yes, you're right.
Why did you answer the thing I wanted to answer? That makes
All right.
I like the fact, I like the part about the shutting out and turning what it does.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution. We are more than halfway done and we're wrapping up. So we can please tune in more as we wrap up. All right. As we wrap up, there are a few things that are left that we need to pay attention to. Okay. While nurturing dopamine, we have given a few suggestions. Mrs. Grace, I will ask you another question. I'll ask you.
Sorry, ma'am, there's this background noise. I don't know.
Mom,
I don't know who it's from. It's quite distracting.
Okay. I think I need to mute. I think the noise has gone off now. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for addressing that. Yeah. So most times we don't know that when we always catch our children doing wrong. Why did you do that? Stop it. You know how many times you say stop it in a day? Don't do that. Why did you do that? What you did wasn't good. I don't like it. This, that, this, that. But can you compare the number of times you catch them being good to the times you catch them doing bad? If we're to compare, I'm sure you know where the scale would fall. This is a call for us to catch them doing good. If you catch them doing good and you celebrate their wins, celebrate small wins. Don't wait for that great test result. Don't wait for that great achievement, the little things. Let no day pass without you celebrating one thing about them. Can we make that a deal? Because that will not only boost your relationship, it would increase dopamine in them. Are we together? Are
Yes,
we together?
ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So let's move on to we talked about compulsory breaks. Yes. So I said that to wrap up the information about the amygdala, if the information is able to pass the amygdala and it is a positive information and it's supposed to stay, if it is a positive information that is supposed to stay, what happens is it is directed to the thinking parts of the brain. And by the higher thinking brain, I say the PFC. It's called the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex. Sometimes in some texts or when some speakers cover this, they would call it executive function part. It's still the same thing we're talking about, right? So the PFC is for higher thinking, and this is our target. This PFC, this place, this is our target for information to get to. So if your child understands this place, if you wake him up in the morning, he can tell you it's because the information successfully got to the PFC. It is because the information that came in was able to transform into memory. It's not all the information that would come in that will change, that will transform to memory. So our goal is to help the information coming in to be turned to memory. How can we turn it into memory? How? How can we turn it into memory? Because of time, I know we have shared a bit. So I'll just move. We're supposed to pause here to discuss, but I see that we have just 20 minutes left. Although we still have a few minutes because we didn't, we still have to swap to Zoom. So pardon us if we have a few more minutes to discuss. Your job as a parent is to help the connection of the neurons so that the information coming in can be turned to memory. This is really essential. Please note it. I want to ask you this question some months from now and hear you tell me, I want you to be able to give me this feedback that your job is to help the connection of neurons so that the information coming in can be turned to memory. How can you turn it into memory? Now, there are different types of memory. There's one that is called short-term memory. You know, when you want to change if you are moving your information, or no, let's say you want to do WhatsApp, you want to activate your WhatsApp or something, and you receive a verification code. Remember, you know what a verification code is? Please feedback. You know what a verification code is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the last verification code you received?
No.
No, because you didn't need to remember it. It was just for A short time, just a few minutes. I call that short, S-H-O-R-T, short. Stay here only right this minute. Stay here only right this minute. Short memory, short-term memory. An example is verification codes. So if you meet somebody and you're trying to ask for the person's name and the person just tells you, my name is Agogo, and the person goes, that Agogo will be in short-term memory if you didn't know anybody bearing Agogo. If there was no, now let me give you, if you ask me what my name is, I will tell you I am Salome. Salome means peaceful and loving. It's from Hebrew, meaning peaceful and loving. Or am I not peaceful? Am I not loving?
Certainly are.
If I tell you that, and I tell you that, oh, I was given the name because it was the name of my mother, and she passed on just before I was given birth, then they just passed the name on. If I give you that story and I tell you the meaning of the name, and I ask you if you don't see that meaning in me, forget my name next time you see me. Because I made you connect some other things with me. It's how not to forget somebody, right? But that's not the focus for today. I just want to add that. Now, rote memory need to exist. This is what we call cramming. Rote memory. So your child has crammed and the test comes. He passes the test because he crammed. But later on, he really doesn't remember that thing. He cannot remember because there was no connection, because there was no association. Rote memory. We can actually manipulate rote memory with dopamine. Remember the song I sang? Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium. I actually crammed I crammed those words, right? Those elements, chemical elements. But I didn't just say hydrogen, helium, lithium. Those are disconnected elements. If I use it in a song, I have released dopamine and I'm able to stick the information. All right? Rote memory, rest only to exist. This is the information, this is the type of memory that Nigerian educational institutions try to prioritize, thinking that anybody that is not anybody whose rote memory is not sharp or who is not cramming everything in the text is not intelligent. No, it's not true. And you should help your children not to use only rote memory. Rote memory should not be the target. The target is long-term memory and relational memory. The long-term memory is where you have personalized and you have put in meaningful association because of previous knowledge. If it's coming in new, it's coming in fresh, if there's novelty in the way the information is coming in, then you should personalize it to make connections of neurons. But relational memories, perhaps there's a pattern, perhaps there's a link, a previous link, then it will stay. Are we together? This is a good point to ask if you have any question. Do you have any question? Do you have something to add? Do you have something to say? I remember last week I was trying to help somebody, one of my senior colleagues in OAU. She's a lecturer, and she was telling me about her daughter, how the daughter is not doing well, this, that, and I had a session with her. I asked her to bring up her books. I want to see what she's doing. So I asked her about French. She said she doesn't like French. She doesn't know French. I brought her notes out, and luckily enough, that particular topic is actually one of my best in French. The verb être, to conjugate the verb être. Je suis, tu es, il est, like I am, you are in French. And I taught her a song that my son actually taught me, a song about the conjugation of the verb être. I taught her the song. Then I checked her math. When I was in secondary school, I didn't like math. I didn't know math. I didn't like it. But when I was even telling her to bring her math textbook, I know she's a secondary school student, and one mind was telling me, that is my previous knowledge, right? The amygdala was bringing back, do you understand it? The amygdala was bringing back that flight response. He wanted me to run. No, she gave her she, right? She wanted me to run away when I heard ma, because my previous experience was not a good one. But I just felt that if this little girl is learning it, it means that if I take out that book with the knowledge I have so far, not knowledge of the world or anything, of the brain process, that I would be able to assimilate whatever it is that's there. So I took it from her and I said, let me see your map, let me help you with it. And she gave it to me. I checked. It was pie charts, forming pie charts, looking for the given data and all that, and bar charts. I looked at it. I asked her, how did you write this? Said she doesn't understand anything she wrote. Said, why? Why don't you understand it? Are you not the one that wrote it? Said the teacher just gave them, the teacher photocopied something and gave them to copy into their books. I said, you should have asked the teacher. I said, they were asking the teacher was abusing them. Now this generation is the worst generation ever. This, that. I said, and you mean the teacher didn't explain anything? She said, no. I can ask her classmates. The teacher made them to copy. How can you copy notes in maths? For goodness sake. Senior secondary school students, you give the child notes to copy in math, and the child should go home and answer the examples. Call work. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Why? Why? With this information that you have received so far, I'm tempted to pause to ask why, but I'm looking at time as well. So let me just explain that there is no building of there's no connection building. The neurons are also, in short, she didn't even bring in any information, she only just wrote it. There was no acceptance, the RAS was short, there was no connection at all, no association, no connection, right? And if you give her that thing in test without any intervention, she would score 0. She wouldn't still know the math. But that day, I taught her a song around that. I formed it, 2 of us, we formed it together, a song. Why did I do that? I was bringing in dopamine. I wanted dopamine to be released in her. So we formed the song together, right? And I know the formula of a pie chart, the given data over total data times 360 degrees. That's the song. And with that, after that, I showed her, this is the given data, this is what you do, and she was able to answer. She was, give me the questions, let me answer them. Why? She left happy, she left satisfied, and she would be willing to go and try more because her sense of achievement had been peaked, got to a peak where dopamine has been released, right? I used music to release the dopamine, and more importantly, I brought in that information, I pushed it to long-term memory because I brought in meaningful associations by releasing dopamine and all that. So I hope I was able to, get to your heart with that story, because using stories is also a way to release dopamine. Using stories is also a way to release dopamine. So I will. You have a question? Somebody was talking. Do we have a question, please? Okay. I would quickly move on to. Okay, let me talk about this. Let me talk about prediction. I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it quickly. I'll say it again. That those when the information comes in, if the information is able to find existing patterns, right? Like what I said about the drink. If you give me that drink and the drink tastes like the one that made me have stomach ache the other day, I will not want to take more because I'm predicting that another stomach ache will come up today. Why? My amygdala registered it and put it on the negative shelf and concluded that this is wrong for me. I'm able to predict because the sorting of the information was quickly done in my brain. You see a child holding a pencil, and to you, there's no problem. But somebody that has seen a child holding a pencil and that has caused an accident or something really, really dangerous to the child would quickly remember, please take that pencil from that child. Why? Previous information and prediction. That's how the brain has been able to sort information into patterns. Lady Glow, please, are we together? Do you understand what I'm saying? Mrs. Olusoya, Mrs. Edemate, are you here with me? Do you understand?
Yes, I'm here, ma'am.
Do you understand
I'm here, ma'am.
question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you for the feedback. Somebody should please explain neuroplasticity. Mrs. Edemate, please
Me?
explain. Yes. Explain neuroplasticity. Remember, I said I was going to ask you a question, and I've explained this at the initial time.
Yeah, neuroplasticity.
Let me give
You said it's about when there is connection. Yeah, when there is the right connections with the neurons.
Yes. So what happens? The neurons stretch, right? As it stretches, new connections are being made. Old ones or the ones that are not used are being cut off. They are being disconnected. They are being pruned. Yes. That is the concept of neuroplasticity. How do we use neuroplasticity to make learning better for our children? Repetition. Repetition.
Okay.
So most of us here are BMW parents, and we are interested in our children learning Bible verses. Now, if they learn a particular Bible verse this month and they don't say, they don't do anything around it, they don't repeat it, they didn't use gestures, they didn't all of that, by next year, they would have forgotten anything they learned about that Bible verse because the neuroplasticity had waned. So to get neuroplasticity, when they have learned a new Bible verse and they have mastered it, take them back to that other one that they learned before. They should just revise it. They should just go over. And that's the concept that teachers also use. When they are starting a new topic, they want to touch the previous one quickly and then move on to the next, right? Because of neuroplasticity. So in the house, we don't just give an instruction and next 2 weeks, you're saying, I would have told you, how many times did I tell you? If there's something wrong, if you say it politely, say it nicely again. I have told you not to do this because then you say why. It makes sense, and it makes more sense to the brain that your child knows why the information is relevant, what they're learning, how would it benefit them? Why is it relevant? Why? I watched a short video of Elon Musk saying that what helped him a lot, he reads a lot, he reads books a lot, all sorts of books here and there. But what helps him till now is the fact that he knows the relevance of what he's reading, what he's studying. He thinks that the education system is warped, that no child should go to the normal school. I'm wondering that if they are complaining about their education there, then they don't know what's up in some places like this. Do you know who Elon Musk is? Do you know Elon Musk?
Yes, we do. He's a public figure.
Okay, yes, the public figure is the one that sent rockets into space, right?
Yeah.
He's the one that did electric cars. He's the owner of Tesla, right? And all of that. So, yes, he's the world's richest man, right? And if somebody like that, and even Albert Einstein, the icon from physics, the logical guy, They all condemn the educational system, that the educational system does not allow children explore, and it doesn't allow it boxes and cages children a lot. And if you compare theirs to ours, then you know that ours is much worse. So if we let our children just keep going to school and coming back and we think that it's just fine, it's not. It's not. We're not doing anything at home to boost these things we're discussing. Then they are just going to be stuffing in it from, they're just using rote memory. They're just cramming. They're just putting it in, and that understanding is not there, right? So the kind of children we want to raise are children that are critical thinkers, that are problem solvers. If you do not have a child understand what he is learning, you not allow him to relate it to the big picture, real world, real life experiences, then there's something missing. Okay, there's something missing. Um, um, Let me just briefly summarize relevance or connection. Why is your child learning what he's learning? Do you know that his attitude can improve as a result of that? If I tell you, okay, you are learning this, sometimes children just think that we want to punish them, this, that, but tell them why they are learning that. Explain why they're learning it. Remember that if they are involved in the choice, if they're able to choose it, dopamine is released. You don't really have much issues with it. But sometimes you are the one that knows, you are the one that wants them to learn this. You're the one that knows why they should learn something. And you're just pushing it on them. Go and study your book. Go and do this. Go and do that. And they're like, what's even the point? Especially if you have teenagers. They want to question you. They want to know why. Don't take it harsh. Don't be harsh on them. Don't take it hard on them. They actually want to know. They are questioning why. It's not everything they question, yes, but for some, you might want to give them answers, because if they know why, then they're able to make sense of it. Okay, they're able to make sense of it. The second point in the summary is see now. This is brain break, right? Give the brain break from time to time. Do different exercises. Taking water is an important brain break. When a child doesn't have to be thirsty before they drink water, right? Water is good for the brain. So let the brain be hydrated, right? The brain is actually made up of water. The components, they are watery kind of, right? Held together by a network of systems. So let us, not just for our children, for us as well, develop this habit. It's a healthy habit to keep the brain healthy, right? Brain exercises. There's actually a lot more to talk about brain, because there are different brain exercises, and perhaps I will do a list of brain exercises that we can do with our children. I wanted to disassemble the group immediately after the class, but maybe because of this, I'll work on it next week and then send a list of brain exercises. Well, if you want, so if you don't want, I'll just go my way.
We want.
All right. So I'll do that with you.
Thank you, Mom.
You're most welcome. Now, positive associations. I've been able to explain this very well, and we will move on because I've gotten feedback from you already on this positive, then visible progress. When your children, when especially boys, when they are playing video games, there's something that keeps them. They can see the progress they are making. They can see it. How many scores? How many scores? When they're not scoring too much, sometimes they don't want to play more, right? Dopamine it's being affected. But when they can see their progress, I'm doing well. The more they do well, the more they want to play. This is dopamine at work, releasing more into them. Hey, you can do it. You can go further, right? They can see their progress. So they are more interested in wanting to learn, right? It helps in setting goals and keeping them as well. Next is inquiry-based learning. set them up to discover. For teenagers, if they're already used to reading, give them self-help books. This is something that you cannot do away with. This is like a gift to them, reading self-help books. Then for children, younger children, let them play. As they play, you've not seen where some children are playing, and if you really watch them, you would be amazed at what they are discovering by themselves. So, but most times we interrupt that process. We interrupt the process. Brain-friendly foods. These foods are really important. The brain needs a lot of minerals, a lot of proteins and vitamins to do well. There's a sentence that says an egg a day does what? I know the one of an apple a day keep the doctor away, but let's talk about generally fruits and vegetables. They are good for the brain. They are preferred to junk. Avoid giving your children junk, not just because of the fats and all that, but because you're interested in healthy brains, healthy minds. Okay, I've talked about play. One thing that can trigger information into the prefrontal cortex, the PFC that we discussed before, is mazes and puzzles. Let your children, even for teenagers, there are puzzles. Get them puzzles, get them mazes to work on, quizzes. They are quite interesting, and they love such things. I've also talked about stories, right? I've talked about stories. Engage your children in storytelling. For the parents that have younger children, you can relate better because you still have some time to do this. Don't wait for your child to grow up, to leave that stage without harnessing everything they should. And while you are reading, remember how to activate RAS that we talked about. Changing your tone, bringing your gestures, raising your voice and bringing it down, changing your voice in the characters. Perhaps you're talking about you are reading the part of a young person, you change your voice to that. You are reading the part of a man, you are changing your voice to capture all of that. Right? That is also part of activating the reticular activating system. Now, you can engage with emotion. Engage learners, your children, with emotion. Let there be fun, let there be laughter, wow moments, joyful moments. All these are helpful for a growth mindset. Many people struggle a lot. Sometimes, for people that, or for those that teach, try to check the state of your students when they come to school. Don't just start teaching like that. How are they feeling? How are they doing? Because when they come disconnected, it's maybe something happened at home. And then for us as parents, maybe your child is going to school. In what state are they going to? Maybe something just happened. Sometimes it's better they don't even go. They stay home and you see that they're fine before they go out. When a child is stressed, when they are sad, when they are grieving, when they are feeling frustrated, maybe something has happened here and there, it is not a good learning state, all right? So in between breaks, perhaps your child is even doing work, school work. Give a wink, give a high five, give hugs intermittently. They help to increase dopamine, all right? Dopamine is our friend. We should know how to release it and help our children a lot. We talked about movement, physical movement, and music. Movement plus music. I should say movement plus music gives you what now? Fun moment, gives you enjoyment. Let me say that. All right. So for neuroplasticity, we talked about repetition. I'm wrapping up. That's why I'm going over all we've done, all we have said. Right. I'm using neuroplasticity to revive your connections in case you have forgotten one or two things I've said, so that the repetition would help you track the information. Next time you see PFC, prefrontal cortex, you know that, oh, that's the thinking part of the brain that is located right here. If you are talking about the reticular activating system, it is at the back here in between the base of the spinal cord and down here, up just like 2 centimeters at the back here. It regulates our reaction, the first reaction we have to the external. So it's a switchboard for change. All right. So we talked about choice. Let your children have a choice when it is possible. Okay. Let them know the relevance of what they are learning. What's the purpose? Give a real world application. If they have a real world application to what they are doing, they will learn better. They shouldn't just learn it isolated. Isolated information does more harm than good to the brain processing. Okay. Now, this information we are learning is what we just learned today is what high performing athletes know, and they use it to talk to their bodies. They use this information, military strategists, they use it. Neurologists, scientists, they use it. The military agents, the athletes, they use it to perform, to get to their highest peak. Why should we not, the teachers, the parents, and even the young children, because I plan to teach this to children as well. Children should know how their minds work. Imagine you asking a child, why are you shouting? Why are you singing? Say, oh, don't you know I'm trying to release dopamine? Imagine your child saying that. Don't you know I'm trying to release dopamine? Don't you know that when I repeat things, that electricity in my brain gets faster and that I'm making memories? Do you know how memories are made, sir? And the person your child is talking to might even ask, how old are you? What are you talking about? How did you get that? It is good information, right? If we don't know how their brains can grow, you can accept any dumbness as it is. Some children would even think that they are dumb. Meanwhile, they're not. If they learn how brains work and they know how they can control their brain, then that is so much power that you have given to them, combined with God's word and the place of prayer. It's such a beautiful gift you are handing over to them. Now, remember that some children will say, oh, I can't do this. It's too hard. No, your neurons are being connected. So don't say that you can't when the neurons haven't connected yet. Try to connect the neurons. Reach out for connection. So if you want to say, I can't do it, that's not a complete sentence. Put yet. I can't do it yet. Yet is so powerful because yes, you can't do it, but yet means there's an opening that you will be able to do it. Just that you need to connect some things, release dopamine, and that would be it, right? Now, when a child is angry or when a child is sad and you ask the child something, or you want to explain to the child why the child is not supposed to, why the child is supposed to calm down. And mind you, I wanted to mention before that the amygdala, when it is activated and it perceives information as negative, it takes some time to calm down. So you want to avoid getting your child into such states in the first place than for you to try to be bringing them out of that. All right. So let's take note of that. Now, when your child is angry and they have this information that in this angry state, I can't learn anything. I know that if I remain like this and I say I want to learn, I'll be wasting my time because my amygdala would have padlocked my PFC, and the information cannot get to my PFC, can't get to my high thinking parts, my high thinking brain. Then your child would know that they can do something about that information. Now, everybody, can we take in? I want you to close your eyes. I want you to close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a cool garden right now, a green garden with beautiful, lush flowers around. I want you to see that in your mind's eye. You are not wearing any shoes, any slippers. Your feet are actually touching the floor, touching the grass, the green grass, right? There are trees all around swaying from left to right, and there are beautiful flowers around you. I want you to inhale the air in there. Just inhale. Let's go. Breathe in, out, in, out. Awesome. What you just did is a breathing exercise to help your child calm down. This is something that when you go to some meetings for CEOs, some big executive meetings like that, and they're trying to teach them anger management techniques, this is one of the things they are taught, that breathing in and out actually helps to calm the amygdala. It helps to calm the brain. All right. So I think that with what we have heard, what we have learned, what we have experienced this evening, we are up for transformation in our homes. We are up for so much change. And I look forward to helping you through this. From now to the end of the year, I'm available for your questions as regards brain-friendly learning. Apply what you have learned to your children. If you want to know how to do it better, let me know. If you have tried something and it worked, let me know. Don't just enjoy it alone. You share the progress. You know that when I see your progress, my own dopamine is released, right? Because when you see your progress, your dopamine is released. Imagine that if you're sharing yours with me, mine will be released as well. And if somebody asks you, what's your business about learning about your child's brain? You have a response to that now. Why wouldn't you learn about your child's brain? When your child's brain is one of the main things, this is the main thing your child uses to learn. It's like, I don't know if you have seen a woman driving a car. Something happens to the car. What do? They just park it. They don't know anything about the engine. They just park it and call. They're not calling their husbands. They are calling their mechanics, or they are calling one person or the other. They don't know jack about the engine. The engine is the brain of your child. In this context, if you don't know anything about that brain, about the engine, imagine the frustration that could come up when one or two things, just slight things happen. You're already scared. You are here and there. Your child makes a mistake and you are all over your child, not knowing that making a mistake is actually a learning process. Why? When they make a mistake with something, they're able to see how they did it before, why it didn't work, and they do it again. That is neuroplasticity at work. So mistakes are blessings in disguise. It's not like we're going to keep making mistakes every day. But if they make a mistake, oh, it's okay, there's no problem. Let them try again. Let them do it again. If it's a costly mistake, I pray it doesn't, cost too much. But I know that mistakes are pathways to learn. They are pathways for memories to be formed. Dr. John Pauly, I'll close with this. He's a professor of medical education. He said, students who understand how their brain works always, in capital letters, always perform better than those who do not. So I would edit this to say that parents who understand how their children's brains work would always perform better and help their children perform better than those who do not. Please ask your questions. There's still so much to say, but we will stop for now because...
Yes, wow. Thank you so much. I was just saying that even we adults, we need, like, this training is applicable to us. I saw how how I got stuck, where I got stuck in the place of learning myself because of this thing. So I'm just saying that it's not only even for the children.
Yes.
Excuse me. Even we the adults, we need it.
Yes.
You know, when the class started, it was like flying over my head, like, so like that thing you said, like I already have an experience. It was looking like science, so I was already wanting to tune off in my mind, but I had to just keep my mind like, you must know this thing,
Mm.
you know, check this, the sacrifice that went to being here, you just have to. And by the end of the day, at least I grabbed something. It's just that see, the answered my question, the answer that I have in my mind. It now made me, I did not have anything to say. But at least at the end of the class, I learned another aspect of the amygdala, like amygdala. Okay. So I want to ask a question. For like you talked about communicating the reason for learning. How do I think for teenagers, for parents with teenagers, maybe it's easy to do that. What about for those who are still under 5? How do you communicate learning, that the need to learn a particular thing or the reason why they are learning it? My child is 3 year old, so I want to really know how to communicate to him to make him understand. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Obert. Of course, when we say that children should understand why they are learning it, that should be age specific, because I wasn't explaining how my child needs to do this and needs to do that when he was when he was 3 years old. I only was talking, sharing with him, right? So I think that's age specific. For children that can understand that, please share it with them. The one that is relevant to them, how they can apply it in real life, let them know. It's going to help their process. And for children that have grown up to the point, but they still don't get the relevance, then you try to make them see. And if it's something that you have tried and you have not been able to make them see, you just go on hoping that they would see why someday. So for you, with young children right now, I do not think they would understand why they're learning one thing or the other yet, right? So I'm sure when the time comes, you would know that. Okay? But really, I should also add that sometimes you are learning, perhaps you are teaching them to read. They don't know the relevance, they can't absorb the relevance, but you know why, and it would affect your attitude to it. Okay? If you know that reading with them every day is going to help them become readers, you know why that learning is relevant. So that relevance is more important for you than it is for them. So that would help their own learning process. I hope that's fine. I hope that attends to your question, Sizobot.
Yes, it is. Thank you, ma.
You're most welcome. Is there any other comment? Any other question? Any other comment?
Yes,
Any
I
other?
do. Yes, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Like we know that children, like just like adults, we have interest. Like you mentioned the other time that there are some things that a child will enjoy doing naturally. So I don't know if it's related to the question Victoria just asked. What about, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example now. When it comes to um talking and asking questions and things like that, anything that doesn't have to do with having to write. Not that she doesn't have, I know how to write, but anything that has to do with having to write, she's not that interested. And writing is important. It's something you get to do lifelong. It's not something you can just drop. So for things like that, like what would you suggest?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, let me answer that question with a real life experience with my child. Now there was this day I wanted him to do homework, his math. Anytime he sees there's a particular math textbook that has different exercises. You know, sometimes there are 25, sometimes there are 50 on a particular page. And he says, oh, it's a lot of work. I said, no, it's not a lot of work. It's just your work. And he really doesn't get to see why he should do it, you know. So I alerted his reticular activating system one of those days. And I love to do different things in different ways to spur him when he's in that kind of state. He's not in that kind of state all the time, right? But when he's in that kind of state, I try out different things. So that particular day, I gave him my recording, my voice memo on my phone. You know that recording part where you can record yourself? So I said, what you are writing, be talking into be recording it, record it here. As you're recording it, you're writing it. He said, ah, really? You like it? I said, yes. You love to listen to, wouldn't you love to listen to yourself? He said, yes. I said, okay, take. Do you know that in just a few minutes, he finished something that could have taken him more than 1 hour to do? He was even having,
Wow.
yeah, he had French lessons that day. And before the teacher was already trying to connect on Zoom, and her connection was somehow, and just a short time we're waiting for her, and he had finished because he was talking into the recorder. So the next day, he wanted to do his work. He asked for the recorder. I said, no, we're not using that today. We're not using that today. Today you're going to do iMath. See, which one is iMath? I say iMath is you'll be saying it the way you were saying it into my recorder yesterday. You're going to be saying it inside your mind, and you're going to be writing it. And it was fun too. We were able to go through that, and we did it really well. So I think that our focus actually is, now you know that she writes, you know that she can write. So what you want to do is to spur her to get into that mode, into that state. You need to get the motivation for her to get into that. She can do it, and she needs to do it. And if you are telling her, oh, you need to, she might not really understand it, okay? And it might not be something she likes. She doesn't like it. Or you can find a way to make her like to do it at that point. You can find a way to release dopamine, either through music or through choice, or one of those ways that we have discussed. Look for how to get it to her. Okay, sometimes, now let me say something about, there are some cards I put. I think I wanted to use them to talk about association. When I mentioned French just now, I remembered that my son was having a French class with his French teacher. His French teacher is in Lagos, so they do it on Zoom. She was trying to teach him something he already knew, but he was sounding so frustrated, like he didn't know it. And the teacher was also sounding frustrated, you know, because she was saying, Monsieur Saint-Louis, Monsieur Saint-Louis. And when she would ask him to say it, he would be saying something different. She was teaching him Monsieur, Mademoiselle, to put it and then make sentences. She would show him, she would say Miss Anne, Mademoiselle Anne. She should repeat after her. And all those things she was saying, she was trying to activate the rote memory. What's the meaning of that? Please tell me you remember. She was trying to activate the rote memory. What was she trying to do? Tell me in another way. Yes, tell me, parents. What was she trying to do? When I say she was trying to activate the rote memory, what was she trying to do? Do you remember rote memory? Rest only to exit. Yeah, that is cramming, right? So she was trying to get him to cram. Miss Anne is for Mademoiselle Anne. Madam, this is so. After I didn't say anything after the class. I made these cards. I cut cardboards, and I wrote the names. Miss Charlotte, right? This is Mrs. Polly. This is Miss Anne. This is Monsieur Salary. This is hello, Mrs. Polly. This is au revoir, Mademoiselle Charlotte. So what I did was to tell him that anytime he sees Mademoiselle, he should know that it is somebody like Abiel. Abiel is his friend. Abiel is a girl. She's a miss. So you're teaching him to remember Miss Anne. But he has not heard that Anne. He doesn't know the name. He doesn't know if it's a man or a woman's name. You are telling him to memorize Monsieur Salui. He has never heard that name before. So when he wants to say it again, he will say Madame Salui instead of Monsieur Salui. And you're getting frustrated. Two of you are getting frustrated because there's no meaningful association. So I brought that in to say, Abiel is your friend. She's Mademoiselle. So if you see Mademoiselle, is what? He said Miss. I said fine. So I also brought in Madame Buari. I said me, I'm Mrs. Buari. So you call me Madame Buari because Madame is Mrs. for married women. And it all made sense to him. I just said that to juggle us on meaningful association, making meaningful associations. Okay, any other question?
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. Is there any other question? If there is none, we will call it a night. If there is none other, we would call it a night. We would call it a night. We have spent 2 hours, 10 minutes or so. I know right now it's looking like it's 2 hours, 30 minutes, but I don't want to consider those first 20 minutes on Telegram as something to go by, right? So I'm really grateful that you made yourself available for this class. I'm grateful that your children are going to be affected positively. If you have, I know you would have questions. I know that things will come up. Please come up to me, at least between now and the end of this year. I've made myself available for that. I am still plunging in, still learning more, still trying to implement here and there, trying to help as many parents, as many teachers as they can, because it is helping me a lot. These are things that I've been doing and I really didn't know the definitions, the name here and there. You know, I was one of the most preferred teachers. In any school I've taught, I was always one of the most preferred because I was actually using these strategies, right? And it made me closer to the children, and other teachers might not have really known what I was doing, but this is it. It wasn't magic, right? I was just trying to do all I could along this line, okay? Now, if a child is doing all he can and he doesn't have enough sleep, please note that you are depriving him of sleep, because sufficient sleep will actually help to convert short-term memory to long-term memory. I just saw that in one of my cards now and I thought, hey, I've not mentioned this. Let me mention that, right? There's still so much more, like I said, to discuss, but we will have to call it a day. Some other time, anytime I'm having a second round, because there are some people that paid for this class and they're not here. They're not here. So I don't know if we would have a second edition pretty soon. You can also join the second edition. It's on me, okay? Now you can join the second edition to help you to implement neuroplasticity on the knowledge you have gained already. So you can refresh your skills, apply it, and come back so much better. Thank you, Mrs. Olusoya. She said it's been time very well spent. Thank you so much. You're most welcome for the feedback. Please, I would love, please, can I get a replay? I joined late. Yes, you can. Please, who is chatting? I can only see iPhone. Please, who is chatting? Mrs. Grace, you're welcome. Mrs. Jacinta, okay. Yes, you will get a replay. You will get a replay, all right? For parents that attended, please do me a favor. I need feedback from you, a written feedback that I can couple together, right? With pictures or without pictures, it doesn't matter. I just need something that really stood out for you in the class and how you're looking forward to using it in your home. Okay, how valuable this class has been, if it was valuable at all, and how valuable it was. I'll need us to drop such comments on the WhatsApp platform so that the parents that did not attend would get a feel of what they missed and plan to attend the next session. All right, so thank you so much for joining in. It's a good night from me, everyone. Bye.